The Emperor's New Clothes. Long ago there lived an emperor who loved beautiful clothes more than anything else. Every morning he hurried to choose another splendid outfit. His closets were so full that even his servants sometimes laughed quietly. The emperor smiled proudly whenever someone admired his fine clothes. One bright morning, two mysterious strangers arrived at the palace gates. They bowed politely and introduced themselves as master weavers. They promised to create the most wonderful clothes in the whole world. They whispered that only truly wise people could see the magical cloth. Foolish people, they said, would see nothing at all. The emperor's eyes grew wide with excitement. "What an extraordinary idea!" he happily exclaimed. He imagined everyone admiring his amazing new clothes. He also thought the cloth might reveal who was truly wise. Without waiting another moment, he invited the strangers inside. They asked for the finest silk and the brightest golden thread. The emperor gladly gave them everything they requested. Soon 2 large weaving looms stood inside a sunny workshop. The strangers moved their hands quickly through the empty air. They smiled, nodded, and pretended to weave invisible cloth. Every now and then they lifted imaginary scissors with great care. Snip, snip, went the invisible scissors that nobody could hear. The emperor chuckled and eagerly wondered how the beautiful cloth was growing. At last he decided it was time to check their progress. He sent his oldest and most trusted minister to visit the workshop. The old minister walked slowly toward the bright weaving room. He took a deep breath before opening the tall wooden door. The 2 weavers greeted him with cheerful smiles and graceful bows. "Please come closer and admire our marvelous cloth," one of them said. The minister looked carefully at the busy looms. His eyes searched every corner, yet he saw only empty frames. A tiny worried wrinkle appeared on his forehead. "Oh dear, why can't I see anything?" he wondered silently. He quickly remembered the strange promise about foolish people. His heart fluttered like a little bird. Then one weaver smiled and asked, "Do you like the golden pattern?" The minister blinked twice and smiled back politely. "Oh yes, it is wonderfully golden," he answered carefully. The weavers happily nodded and described even more invisible details. The minister nodded too, although he still saw nothing. He memorized every color and pattern they described. Back at the palace, the emperor welcomed him eagerly. "Tell me everything," the emperor said with shining eyes. The minister described the imaginary cloth with great admiration. The emperor clapped his hands with delight. Soon he sent another trusted servant to see the wonderful cloth. The servant returned with exactly the same amazed smile. At last the emperor decided to visit the workshop himself. He walked proudly inside, followed by his smiling court. The weavers welcomed him with wide smiles and graceful bows. They proudly pointed toward the empty looms with sparkling eyes. The emperor looked carefully, but could not see a single thread. For a quiet moment, his cheerful smile almost disappeared. Then he remembered what the weavers had promised. "The colors are truly magnificent," he said with a gentle nod. Everyone around him quickly agreed with bright, careful smiles. The weavers pretended to dress the emperor in his new clothes. They carefully lifted an invisible cape and smoothed invisible sleeves. One even dusted an invisible speck from the emperor's shoulder. The emperor almost laughed, but proudly stood very still. Soon the palace doors opened for the grand parade. Happy families filled the streets to greet their emperor. People smiled politely and admired the invisible clothes. Nobody wanted to seem foolish in front of everyone else. Then a little child looked with curious, honest eyes. "But the emperor isn't wearing any clothes," the child said softly. For a moment, the whole street became wonderfully quiet. Then gentle whispers floated through the smiling crowd. Little by little, everyone realized the child was right. The emperor felt his cheeks grow warm, but a gentle smile slowly appeared. Deep inside, he knew the little child had spoken the truth. He thanked the child with a warm nod and a kind smile. From that day on, the emperor learned that honest hearts shine brighter than the finest clothes. Good night. From Safira Dreams. May your dreams be filled with wonder, and may every story bring peace. Safira Dreams, where stories become dreams.